It's the third Saturday of the month, which means it's time for another TVGP Game Club recap episode. I'm your host, Boston, and joining me as always is Moonpir.
Hello, Governor. How are you doing today?
And MusiM.
I can't top that.
No, I can't either. This month we're talking about Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Let's go through all of the stuff about the game here at the top. Released November 16th, 2004. Published by Activision. Developed by Troika Games, RIP. Time travel here. Metacritic 80. OpenCritic didn't exist back then, so they do not have that game on there. Boy, peers for the release date. Settle in for this. This list is incredible. Starting off with Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3.
Okay, that was a pretty good one. I remember Budokai 3 being pretty good.
Half-Life 2.
Oh, crap.
Pretty good one. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Oh, jeez.
Baten Kaitos Eternal Wings in the Lost Ocean, which is a sleeper hit. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. Halo 2.
Why?
Jack 3.
Oh, wow.
The Legend of Zelda The Minish Cap.
Oh, jeez.
Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal, which Moon and I were talking about great Ratchet and Clank titles recently on TVGP. That's definitely one of them. And last but certainly not least, World of Warcraft.
Oh, jeez. So bottom of the pile. So, yeah, everyone agree?
Yeah.
Nobody talked about this thing?
Yeah, God, I feel like the history of this game is so well known at this point that it sold virtually no copies because it went head-to-head with Half-Life 2 on the same engine and had a famously troubled development cycle. You can read all about it online. I'd say this was... I would say it's probably a game that was anticipated when it came out and then just got raked over the coals review-wise and had nothing but bugs. It was definitely bottom of the pile, but thankfully to the fan community for releasing the incredible fan patches and sort of fixing the game up.
You know, the reason why games like this, like, I'm sure Alpha Protocol has one, because there's got to be some crazy fans out there who've done that same for Alpha Protocol.
Probably.
I know Fallout New Vegas has famously got some incredible fan patches.
Oh, yeah.
Ars Arcanum, a PC isometric RPG with its incredible fan patch that unbreaks the game.
That's a plus. Well, and the fan patch also restores some sort of missing / cut content in the game, sort of like KOTOR 2's fan patch did. So it's one of those fan patches where it's like, yeah, you guys went kind of crazy in the best way possible to kind of fix this game up from where it launched.
Yes,
which is the version we played. And I will admit here at the beginning, this month overall was sort of a wash for basically everything. And I played about 2 hours of the game and then watched the rest of it on YouTube. So I have played the entire game, but I will sort of take a backseat to both of my esteemed co-hosts here, who I know MusiM probably played the game at least 4 or 5 times this time. So I'll turn the floor over to you, gents, to talk about what you liked and what you didn't like about Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines.
Okay, we'll start with MusiM. MusiM, did you beat it this time? Did you get past, I'm assuming, the first area?
Yeah, so so here's what I did, is I loaded my last save, which was as a Malkavian, and that Malkavian had just gotten out of Santa Monica and started in the downtown area. So I played that.
Is that the place where you normally end up, like, dropping off?
Generally, I get to the end of Santa Monica, and then I stop playing for no discernible reason that I can imagine, other than I think, this is a good place to take a break. I'm going to do something else for a minute, and then I don't.
And then never come back.
Right.
And I got to tell you, after playing the rest of the game... actually, real quick, also, after I beat it, I started a new game as I think I went Bruja. And I did not beat it, but and I did go a little ways into Santa Monica. I didn't really like playing the Brujah because I couldn't turn invisible like I could as the Malkavian, which completely changed how I interacted with the game.
Yes.
So then I just started rampantly killing things and whatever, and I think I have like 2 Masquerade violations left and like 3 humanity left as the Brujah at the moment.
Interesting.
Oh,
Or maybe I'm a gangrel. I'm one of those two. Anyway. But I think all of the game that happens after Santa Monica is way better than Santa Monica.
Yes, and unfortunately a lot shorter, it feels like, as well.
Yeah.
Like, there's 2 or 3 real standout moments in Santa Monica, but then the second you get to Hollywood and it's literally just a street, and you're just like, what? Okay, clearly development had issues at this point, at least.
Right.
It's, well, and they might have had issues, but it was just so much. I liked it a lot better that way. Santa Monica was too much, too big, and especially for their terrible quest tracker.
Yes, and the terrible map.
Especially right at the beginning of the game, too, where it's like, go find this red car with this license plate. And it's like, how am I going to do that?
I think that's the thing. Okay, so just before we jump into that too much, I started the game twice as well. I started the game once, and I was a Nosferatu based on my questionnaire answer. Don't play the game the first time as a Nosferatu.
Right.
It's literally turning the ultimate hard mode on because you can't talk to anybody, you can't interact with people, you can't get close to people without losing Masquerade violations. Like, within 10 minutes of starting the game and getting into Santa Monica, I had lost 2 Masquerade violations. And it's like,
oh, jeez.
You literally have to travel by the sewer everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Like, it's super difficult. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm really interested to see if I could do it now because I have the experience of having played the game.
I'm really curious if, and I don't know if I have the endurance to be able to just traverse through all these areas through the sewer systems, which I barely touched otherwise, you know. But I'm really, like, I kind of think you get an apartment or something in the Nosferatu Warrens in Hollywood.
Yes.
Okay.
I did some reading into it, and yeah, because they have all of the different what are they called? Chantries or something, where each of the individual clans have buildings in different locations. And if you do help the Nosferatu, you can, I read, unlock a place for you to stay in there. That helps out a lot.
Oh, cool.
Now, if only that place wasn't a nightmare to get in and out of.
Yeah. And, 20 hours into the game.
Yeah.
Right.
So what was your other race you played as?
When I started it the second time, I started as a Gangrel. Mostly because I just wanted to sing Gangrel's WWE Brood music in my head every single time that I loaded the game. Because,
I really like the huge differences between each of the different clans in the game. It's not just like, oh, this one looks different and this one has different hair. It's just like they're significantly different. And I didn't know anything about Vampire the Masquerade, the universe, before I came into this. So learning all that and sort of learning the world's backstory and all that was really great. And I think that differentiation is probably one of my highlights for this. It's just like it's not a cosmetic thing. You're like we're talking about with Malkavians and we're talking about with Nosferatu. You're gonna be playing the game significantly differently, even if you're playing one of the other sort of easier classes. Quote unquote.
Like the Gangrel's special third ability is the protein form. And literally I just spec'd into unarmed combat, and then anytime you activate that, it gives you a huge buff to unarmed combat, so you do like much more damage, much more resilience, that kind of stuff. The final form of it is called War Form, where you literally become like a giant demon-looking dude with huge claws and just swiping away at everything. It's just like the stupid 2-legged things that bounce at you in that mission. like one punch and they were flying across the room or getting like exploded into giblets. It was like
That's great.
real cool to run as like a completely unarmed combat kind of character, because I never do. I'm always firearms all the way. But I mean, it's really interesting. Like you said, like the different styles of play.
So they.
But we go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you were.
No, you go ahead.
I should probably start telling you guys just how insanely different Malkavian is.
This is the insane class, if I remember correctly.
Yes. So you get flashes of the future, right? And the way the game interprets like your craziness and whatnot is, one, your dialogue is 100% different every step of the way, and you like the way you present sentences is very non-logical. Like you'll separate, like I should have written down some examples, but you will dissect and kind of regurgitate phrases in such a way that no one quite knows what you're saying.
So is it a case of like the text at the bottom tells you the normal sentence, and then when you hit that button,
no,
it's different, or it tells you the gibberish at the bottom?
It's there's a lot of rereading because you don't know what the heck your character is trying to say.
So it's almost like that lady on the Santa Monica beach.
She is a Malkavian.
Sees the future.
Yeah.
She is 100% a Malkavian.
Yeah.
Where it's just like these sentence fragments that are smushed together, and you're like,
exactly.
yeah, cool. What are you talking about?
Yep.
Top of that, you have constant voices talking to you out, like game audio.
Oh, wow.
These voices, like there's a bunch of set ones where like one of them will say like cemetery runoff at the gates or something like that. Weird nonsensical things, but occasionally like a story beat will happen and they will say something else. Like a lot of the time, not a lot of the time, your character has nicknames for every single person that they meet, and sometimes those nicknames are driven
really
by
great.
the voices you hear. And like sometimes the voices will give you a heads up on story things that are going to happen. Like there's a bomb near the end of the game that I think the voices warn you about. The voices freak out when you get in the taxi. Like
That's
the
cool.
taxi driver's implied identity is almost made concrete through the Malkavians' dialogue and voices you hear with it.
Wait, who is the taxi driver? Is it Blade or something? Did I miss a really obvious reference?
So the taxi driver is more than likely Kane.
Ah,
Right.
Okay.
And so, like, when you get in the car, like, your first response is just your guy is screaming because you think that he's there to kill you or something like that, right?
Right.
There are also other interactions in the game that you will just randomly have, and I don't know how it happened. Like, the most famous of which is probably the stop sign. You were like, I think it was in downtown when it happened to me. I might be wrong, but I was just walking along and suddenly I'm in the dialogue interface and there's just a stop sign in front of me. And my choices for dialogue are no, you stop, and I can't remember the third one, but it's something equally like humorous and crazy. And like it doesn't go anywhere. It's just this funny flavor text of your character being mad.
Right.
And my powers were turn invisible and drive everyone else crazy, basically. Like that skill tree was all various forms of making them insane. So a lot of my combat things were to cast one of those on the boss and hope it was enough for me to kill him, which most of the time it was not. I had to cheat a lot to get through this.
Yeah.
But I really, it may not be the ideal first playthrough, but it's so much fun and so completely different, I think, dialogue-wise, that it is worth checking, either watching a Let's Play as a Malkavian or just doing it yourself and occasionally turning on God mode to get through, like, that Sabbat dungeon or something else.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I think I respect the most about this game is, obviously, even with the fan patch, it's an old game. There's a lot of stuff that's just janky like it was in 2004.
Yeah,
That's
looping back to the quest things we talked about earlier, like where is this red car?
Yeah.
Like you just have to think to yourself, it's in the parking lot. Clearly it's going to be the easiest place to try and find it. But there is nothing that points you in any directions, and that's not the game's fault.
Right.
That's a time thing.
Yeah, like this one of the first few Source Engine games. Like it's just there's so much of it that where you can see the ambition they had that feels like it got hampered by technology and by development issues. But when stuff like the Malkavian playthrough really comes together, I feel like that is one of those shining moments in this game that people remember so well. You don't remember like, oh, right, that's right, I gotta go find this red car again. Like this is the stupidest thing. But there's these flashes of brilliance in there where it's like, oh man, this is so cool. And like you're solving, like even just the idea of using your keyboard to control computers in the game is just, it's one of those fun things where it's like, all right, this makes the game feel pretty great, even if you're not doing anything that difficult. It's just, and I gotta say, for a 2004 game, everything is voice acted, which I think is pretty incredible. And I'd say a good 50% of it is really good. The other half is like fine, or kind of, there's a couple characters here and there that are not good. But a lot more of it is really good than it should be in 2004.
Yeah, there's a fair few people who I was like, well, you're clearly just one of the devs.
Right. Like someone around the office is like, we need 2 or 3 lines from you.
Gosh, I tell you, one of the vampires sounded a lot like the guy who does Bender, and I meant to look that up. Okay.
It's
Jack,
It's the very first guy who gives
Jake
you the
the dog
tutorial.
shows up.
He is Bender, also Marcus Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
100%.
AKA the bad guy in the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think if you're listening to this thinking it's something you might want to play, I would recommend Gangrel, because it's a middle of the road, like decent way to play it, and you can become extremely powerful by leaning into the unarmed stuff. I think the thing that you mentioned, like the Malkavian playthrough being something to remember, I'm gonna remember and I'm going to phrase this, it's going to sound like it's a bad thing. I don't think it is, because I like some dark storytelling. But this is a dark game. Like an extremely dark game. And both visually, yes, I did get lost in some pipes trying to figure out which way was the way in and out of the pipe, because I couldn't see. I had to turn on my protein form at one point because it has a night vision mode to escape from this tunnel because it was too dark for me to see. But
nice.
Like the cover star of this game is the vampire cheerleader girl lady.
Oh, Jeanette and
Jeanette,
Teresa.
Yeah. Yes,
I guess spoiler.
Yes, that
it's a 16-year-old game. I think we're fine.
Yeah, that revealed that they're sisters / no, they're not. It's a split personality disorder, and then because I don't know if you would have got this, MusiM, because you had to pick some very specific dialogue options to go down it.
But I reloaded his save so I could do it, so I know what you're talking about.
The very vivid description of why that personality disorder exists, the very vivid reasoning why, and then the consequences of that conversation were mind-blowing for a 2004 game.
Yeah. It went all the way there, and it didn't really pull any punches. Like it treated it fairly well for a 2004 game. Like it didn't make it like a punchline or anything, but
it didn't make any jokes of it, didn't make anything like that. And one of your starting things you can choose is you can be gay. At the start of the game, it says you are gay. The regular world doesn't like you for this. Maybe the underworld will be a bit more better treatment of you. And it's like,
oh, interesting.
It's a really liberal game. Like it doesn't pull any punches. It head on collides with dark topics and very serious subject matters, and not once did I ever feel like it was trying to make them the punchline, or if it was trying to, just pretend like it was nothing. It was like, oh, no, this is very serious. The things we are discussing right now are very, very serious things to discuss. The screenshot I posted yesterday on Twitter, as of time of record, that was from a quest involving a snuff movie.
Oh, yeah.
For the record.
Right.
Like, that's a terrifying thing. And this is 2004, and people are giving games like The Last of Us all the credit in the world for, their handling of specific types of subjects, and in Boston's cases, all of their not credit for handling everything else terribly.
That's right.
Yeah, okay, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, which came out like 6 years after this or something, has an emotional punch to it. But you tell me something that Half-Life approached in story-wise, Half-Life 2, that even touches any of the boundaries of this stuff. It just doesn't.
One of my favorite shots in this game is when you, through one of the side quests, or one of the quests you're going through, and you find yourself at the prosthetics office, and you're like, man, this place seems pretty nice. You open that door, and you're just like, oh, no. Okay, great. Fantastic. This is what I was hoping it wouldn't be, but all right, let's do this.
Yep.
Just a new horror movie behind every door in this
every
game.
door. Literally
That's
every
right.
single door, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
This handles stuff like that, and as much as I hate to incite the name, it handles nudity and sexuality and grown-up topics in a way that I've never really seen done before. Like, there is a stripper in the game, and when you call her a stripper, she says, "No, I'm a dancer. Thank you very much." Like, It's a very smart response. And not once does it try and poke fun at them. Not once is it like, well, these are this is why X, Y, and Z happens. It's genuinely fantastic storytelling. Like, genuinely really good storytelling. In some of the side quests were dumb. Some of the side quests were stupid. I particularly was a huge fan of the vampire script side quest, which was so stupid. But it's like, a lot of these have so much more kick and weight to them than most games have even managed to come close to in the, let me check my watch here, 16 years since it came out.
And on top of that, like, breaking out of the technical limitations it had and the development troubles it had to sort of not only make a cohesive thing, but to have it really address its topics maturely without, as I feel like if a game like this would come out in 2020, there'd be a 50-50 chance that it'd be this edgy game to be edgy, and it'd always be like looking at you out of the corner of its eye, like, is this shocking you yet? Is this upsetting you?
You mean the Call of Duty syndrome?
Like, yeah, and it's like, this game is just like, hey man, this is life. Like, this is what the vampires are going through. This is modern day. Sorry.
So I guess we'll find out the answer to that question soon anyway, or at least next year.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that I think, I have always heard that this is a game I would really enjoy. And yes, I will agree with that this is, I think when you go to your character creator and a game is like, how about we take a quiz? And it's like, sold. All right, 10 game of the year, 10 out of 10. I think so much of it is in a genre that really appeals to me, between storytelling and dialogue trees and genuine consequences to your decisions and stuff like that. Man, this has really made me super, super excited for the second game in a way that
I hope it lives up to it.
They got some awesome writers on that second game, though. So
I haven't even looked yet. Have they got genuinely good talent on there, or?
Yeah,
I forgot the chick's name. It's not going to come back to me. I should have written down, but they have a really good. I think the lead.
It's not Hannon, is it?
It's what?
I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Hera Ellison.
Yes, that's what I was trying to think of. I can't remember what else she did, but she's a really good writer. And then Chris Avellone, I think, was involved in it.
That's a name I know.
Granted,
Yeah, I think he worked on it for a good amount of time, yeah.
now granted, like Chris Avallone does like I don't know how to say his last name. I'm gonna say it different every time I say it. I've met the man in person at Dragon Con and watched him give a speech, and I still don't know how to say his last name because I didn't remember. Granted, he has basically worked on every single PC RPG in existence, I feel like, over the past few years.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Brian Mitsoda is also working on the game. He wrote this game.
Okay.
They brought back...
Kara Ellison worked... she wrote for Rock, Paper, Shotgun, PC Gamer, Kotaku, The Guardian. She worked for a whole bunch of stuff. She worked on GTA 4 and something else. Oh, Dishonored 2. No big deal. So... kind of a dream team of writers and developers here. That is it's pretty impressive, and I think you can see that part of what excites me is that if they can take that spirit, that sort of ethos behind the first game, and make it work. You know, it didn't even really work in 2004, as old and janky as the game is. If you can have that first impression right out of the gate be really good, and from some of the videos I've watched, because when they announced this, everyone was like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, "All right, yeah, man, cool, okay." And now I'm like, "All right, let's watch all these gameplay trailers. All right, let's watch all these dev walkthroughs. All right,
yeah."
It looks like it's in a pretty good shot.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything for it yet. I literally saw the trailer, the Xbox reveal event, and that was kind of literally the day before we made the decision to actually do this game.
Right.
And I've just heard people like, I know you're not a fan, Boston, but I've heard people like Arthur Geese rave about this game for so long. Like, for years.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of those games like Fallout New Vegas that he goes back to and he plays once every couple of years, I think. And
so many people are like, this is my favorite RPG of all time.
Yeah.
Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. It's like, wow, it's
high praise.
Incredible.
I mean,
you telling me it beats Mass Effect?
I suspect, like, you're going to have a completely different playthrough depending on which clan you choose.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's probably, like, some similarities between some of the clans that talk normally, but, like... Yes. Part of me also thinks, like, just from the whatever I was playing, the Bruja or the Gangrel, I can't remember, but one of them I had a lot more aggressive options. And I suspect if you picked a Ventru, who their whole shtick is politics and talking, right?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
They probably speak a lot more proper than I imagine the other clans do.
Well, like,
yeah,
like when I was like the Nosferatu had normal dialogue options, but then his persuade options were very, very dark. Whereas when I played the Gangrel, he very much sounded like a surfer dude, as a white guy with dreadlocks living in LA probably does.
Right.
But it's genuinely intriguing, the fact that this is one of those games. It reminds me of the first Dragon Age game, not the rest of the game, specifically the section that's called Origins, where you do the origin story for each character class. Like, it reminds me of that, where it's like, yeah, you could play this game 19 different ways and get so many different endings. Hello, Alpha Protocol, how are you doing there? Oh, yes.
Right. Well, and I feel like you can see some of the inspiration through lines there, where it's like, all right, we're going to take some of this class-based stuff, this D&D stuff that has influenced so many games, and sort of see that through line there.
Yeah.
I think if we were worried about Bloodlines 2 not taking a dark storyline, I was just looking up the only plot detail really known as the game starts when a bunch of vampires do a mass embrace, which is basically a terrorist attack, turning a whole bunch of people into vampires all at once. It's like, cool. All right, I'm in.
Oh, that sounds
great.
That sounds interesting.
So
yeah,
I can tell you actually a little bit in that. I know you're going to start out as a thin blood.
Interesting.
How thin bloods can become vampires, which I've basically just been mainlining Outstar's YouTube channel, like because all of her videos are so educational on all the Vampire the Masquerade stuff. As I get questions, but Thin Bloods can pass for human a lot easier than vampires. They still get some vampire powers, but if they basically drink the blood to the point of killing another vampire, then they will be one of those vampire clans. So
interesting. So I wonder if you start as a generic Thin Blood without any particular class.
Yeah.
And then you have the origin story to choose which class you would like to be.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting take on it.
I did look in the Malkavian clan is in the second one.
Thanks.
So let's get that trophy.
I do not know if I'm going to be able to pick anything else just based on like whether it's considered hard difficulty or not. Like it was just too much fun having like the Malkavian almost talks like a Renaissance person. Like
yeah, I love the Malkavian whatever they're called, not the progeny, the leaders of each of the clans. I love that dungeon in his castle, and he literally is talking like he's talking like a normal person, and then he'll just randomly start spouting some gibberish. It's like, okay, so you're definitely a Malkavian, which you like to learn through his audio like logs that he definitely is. But like him talking about like the old sciences and how they're all dead, and it's just like, well, my science is gone now. I better learn about this new one. AKA, I'm going crazy and my voices are talking to me.
Man, the amount of characters in the game that are just put off once they realize you're a Malkavian. Like they'll ask you a simple question, really thinking you're a normal person. They'll be like, crap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another Malkavian. Here we go.
Oh, dude, all of the vampires look down on the Nosferatu. Every single one of them. You talk to a vampire as a Nosferatu, and they basically call you scum. Like, they're like, just go back to the sewers. Get away from me. I don't want your ugly face above the ground. Get away from me. That kind of stuff all the time.
Man.
Like,
this game's cool.
We should mention, the game does have its issues. It doesn't look great. It looks okay, but it's from 2004, so that's fine. It has some breaking issues. I twice got stuck in locations where I couldn't get out and had to do a quick load to get out of it.
Make a lot of save files.
Yes. I literally had, I think before I went out and cleaned out a bunch, I think I had about 142 saves.
Yep.
I use anytime I'd get stuck in geometry, I'd just open the console commands, type, I think it's just no clipping is the command to no clip and do that. And once I realized I could move faster when I was no clipping, at the end of the game when I was like, I have to go between this area and this area, I would just turn that on when I got to the area, zoom over to where I was going, then turn it off. And could fix most of it. But like there was one quest they added to the game with the fan patch that I could not complete. It was just glitched out for me.
Yeah, I'm not a PC gamer, so that never occurred to me once to hit the tilde and start messing around with that stuff.
Right. Like this is the way I play Elder Scrolls games, because I don't I'm interested in exploring the world and developing a character. So I'm also interested in removing obstacles that the game puts in that I don't feel like goes with that journey that I want to make. So that is my approach. I want to mention the music, which I think is phenomenal.
Yes. Let's get our hands in the air for those who just don't care and listen to the rock music and just hang out in the bars just to listen to weird gothic vampire metal.
Your KMFDM shirt.
They got a bunch of bands to go on this, and the guy who did the soundtrack, Rick Schaefer, he's returning for the second one too.
Awesome.
Yep.
But he there's a really cool half-hour interview he did for Bloodlines 1 and 2 where he kind of spells out a lot of stuff. Like, I guess Ministry was originally supposed to do the musical theme for the game. And, I guess Al Jorgensen was even in their studio at one point. But it doesn't sound like Rick met him. But basically, at the end of the day, no one told Rick about that. So Rick wrote a theme. So then, I guess, I don't know if it was the publicist or someone actually internally at their company, but one of them was finally like, which one do you think we should use as the main theme? He's like, I kind of think I he complimented Al Jorgensen's one, but he also said, he kind of sounded like he just rehashed some stuff from his track. I think "So What" was the one it sounded like, which is ironic to me, like because both of them have like a similar drum beat to Bela Lugosi's "Dead" too. But anyway,
right.
But he basically just chose his over that, and his higher up went with it, and that
interesting.
The Ministry song became the club music in I think the Confession, is that what that club's called? The Downtown.
If it's the church one, yes. The Confession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the names of stuff, by the way. Ground Zero with a zero, Confession, Sin Bin.
Yeah.
Vesuvius is a great one as well.
Yeah. They have a bunch of fun namings.
But yeah, that music is amazing. Like, it got me every single time. Like, something, I go into a new area, hear a new lick, and just be like, no, I'm just going to stand here and listen to this build for a little bit just to get the gist of what I'm listening to.
Yeah.
Like, it was really in theme as well, and I don't know how you can put something down as vampire themed. Like, there's just no real way to explain how that makes sense, but it kind of does.
Right.
Well,
right.
The thing that trips me out is like the last, I don't know, we'll say 20 years of like goth music is probably like this hard-hitting electronic stuff. And this is interesting in that it has kind of like the same, like it just exudes like kind of this goth dark mood to it, but it's all like guitar and drums just used in these really cool, interesting kind of mood enhancing ways. So I'm excited to hear what he's done for the second one. Like he hasn't. Yeah, it looked like I looked at his discography, and I guess he had a couple bands too. But game wise, like it doesn't seem like he's done anything in a long time. Like he did the X-Men Legends game and Dark Age of Camelot. An expansion for Neverwinter Nights 2, just to name a few, but everything is from like 15 years ago. But I'm
bringing him out of retirement.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Any final thoughts here for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines?
I do want to mention something that made me uncomfortable in the game.
Sure.
When you get the ghoul. When you first get her, like, I was like, oh, cool, I got a companion. And then, like, she's so obsessed with you. It made me real uncomfortable. I'm like, am I in a rape metaphor? And I had to literally go Google how sex works in Vampire the Masquerade.
Right.
And it turns out...
it doesn't.
Yes. And that made me feel a lot better about it, to know that its creators took a lot of pains to say that... I mean, they don't outright say that they're not going for rape metaphors, but they obviously put enough ideas into the game to differentiate blood sucking from sex, which I highly appreciate, since Hollywood is all about making that the metaphor. You
mean it's not an absolute direct metaphor for abstinence, like a certain Hollywood series that we know of?
Right.
Don't mind me, I'm just throwing some shade in the low light. Wink.
Heyo.
But I guess in terms of actual final thoughts, I loved this game. I hate the combat in it, honestly, quite a bit.
I will agree with that. The combat was the toughest part of the whole thing. And I can't even hold it against it, though, because it's 2004.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's just, that's how it was. Like...
Yeah, except now that you've told me that Halo 2 and Half-Life 2 came out on the same day.
But they are such...
much smaller dev teams.
Such specific aims as well. Like, this is a first-person shooter. This is a physics-based whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, Jack 3, this is Grand Theft Auto Jack. So, go steal some cars or stuff. It's like... The level of complication in the combat in this, I think, is what makes it both incredibly interesting and horrifically difficult to pull off.
Yeah.
I love this game. I love the amount of variety in it, and I can't wait to play through it every once in a while. I think I'm just seeing the Santa Monica as the new race. It was interesting seeing the contrast, but it more made me want to go pick out one of the other talkie clans. Like, I don't know if I can stand being a Ventru, but I want to see how that works. I want to see like how good that dominate skill is that they're supposed to have, you know?
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
there's also the Tremere, who are the blood magic ones, which is really interesting to me, considering a truth I learned about a boss that you have to fight in the game. Like, real interesting.
Yeah, that's the clan I got from my questionnaire. It's like, all right, cool. This isn't the 2 classes that you're not supposed to play first time through. So yeah, let's do this.
That Malkavian
some
and
of the-
Nosferatu is the 2 that you're not supposed to play as.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's been you sort of absorb stuff through osmosis for so long, and the general recommendations is like, hey, play whoever you want as long as it isn't these 2. That it's just going to be way too hard. And that's the one I got, and it seemed pretty cool. It seemed like Blood Mage is definitely the exact right way of putting that.
I wanted so badly to see what was upstairs from that Tremere Chantry or whatever the dude's place was. Like,
Yep.
Tremere's on my short list to try out. I'm just curious where that goes.
Yeah, minor spoilers. Did you fight the golem in the Chinese theater?
Yes. Well, I didn't fight him. I talked him. I got him to. I did the Anarch ending, is what I did.
I did the Independent. So right at the very end of the game, as the thing blows up, I walked out down the street and Nines and all the annex were there, and I literally just walked past them and flipped the bed.
Oh.
Nice.
It's like, cool, okay, that's fine. But
Peace out, jerks.
that Tremere in that Chantry, that dude created that golem. Like,
oh, yeah.
oh, wow.
I did
He
read that.
created it, which is real interesting.
Because he wants you to get rid of it. And, you know, I got him to join the... So it was interesting. I got him to join the Anarchs, and after the werewolf thing, where you go meet Nines at his house, like that golem was... that gargoyle was there.
That's pretty cool.
You don't get to talk to him. He's just standing there and posing on the balcony, but he's there.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Like, I adore this game. It's flawed in so many ways because of its age, and I openly admit that fact. It is a flawed game. But literally, when Nimp jumped into one of my streams one day and was like, sure looks like some Alpha Protocol stuff going on here, with my crosshair directly over someone's head and the bullets flying, you know, into the light instead of into their head. It's like, I couldn't think of a better thing to compare it to for us, for this group of people. This is Alpha Protocol. Like, this is a game that is broken on so many levels, and yet still stands above the crowd and just like, yo, look at this. This is the stuff I do well. This is what's great. Not to mention, by the way, I'm based on a board game kind of thing, or a real IRL game. So guess what? I've got decades of lore for you to go and read through if you wanted to.
Yeah, you want to read some books? I got books.
Like, genuinely fantastically written, really maturely written, which is weird to say about a game that came out in 2004, whatever it was, 10 years before Duke Nukem Forever came out. Like, you know, it's astounding. This will probably stick in my head for a long time. A very long time.
Yeah.
Because it's 2020 and I don't expect to have a tale of abuse told to me in a video game. Because games can't handle that correctly yet. And then here we are 16 years ago and they handled it with dignity and aplomb in a way that is shocking to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, we figured it out. Here you go. It's like, oh, wow. Okay.
It's a great game.
Good on
you. Go
you.
play it. I bought it for $10 on GOG. Get the fan patch. Go give it a shot.
Yep. And fan patch is super easy to install. I know a lot of people are worried about fan patches. We're like, drag these 10 files here and put these files. You just double click on the exe. It makes a new shortcut. You run that. You're good.
Yeah.
So
the non-PC gamer who doesn't remember that the tilde key exists, installed the fan patch. That tells you how easy it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I had a better month so I could play through this game, because I liked what I played and I really liked what I watched, but I think the best thing for me to come out of this is if the reviews for the second game is anywhere above a 5 out of 10, I'm sold. Even if it comes out and it's just this flawed gem like the first one was, I'm sold. Like I'd love to see all of these ideas and sort of you can sort of see that the genesis of those. If a lot of that stuff comes to fruition in the second one, that'd be an easy purchase for me.
Yeah.
And then somehow figure out how to play it without my kid around.
I was actually going to suggest, now that the time pressure is off for you, you may want to. I've heard that this Steam Link app for tablets is a lot better these days.
I haven't tried that in a while.
So it might be something worth looking into, Mr. I like to play things in bed for some weird reason.
I really do.
And
I like laying down. And it's my favorite part of the day.
And in all honesty, it's not a Twitch-based game. You don't need the latency is not going to matter too much, because knowing you're going to go the speaky dude and then just talk your way around everything.
But
I'll just put on God mode either way.
I was about to say, you can't talk your way out of everything, but like you're still going to go through that Sabbat dungeon, which is way too long and too easy to get lost in, and you're still going to go through the I don't know. I assume
the Nosferatu Warrens is too confusing.
Yeah. And I guess there is an option to side with the I forgot the name of the Kui Jin, the Ming Zhao, the Chinese vampires.
Right.
I think there is an option to side with them somehow, but I don't know if you get out of going to their dungeon or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
No matter what, there's going to be some fighting, unfortunately, and I hope the second game either sidesteps that or just has really good combat.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
I'm hoping it's been a long time since the last one came out. There's been a lot of improvements. I'm hoping that they look at other things. It's coming to consoles, number one, so I get to play this on my platform of choice, boys.
Well, and it's an Unreal Engine 4 game as well, so like that's a really mature engine at this point. So a lot of other people have done first and third person action RPG games. So like, fingers crossed.
I got a good feeling about this one, so I'm in.
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
It's checking all the right boxes. Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about our next game. You, the patrons, hopefully you're patrons, patreon.com/E1M on the ones or numbers, voted for this next game. The vote was tied, so I had Google flip a coin, and the coin came up for Saturday Morning RPG, which is apparently a short RPG. Think more like Chrono Trigger as opposed to some other Persona 5. You know, it's not the 100-hour end of the spectrum. This came out on PC, iOS, Android, PS4, PS Vita, Xbox One, and Switch. And until, I think it's like the early next month, it's on sale for $2 on Switch. It's normally $10. So
nice.
Switch seems to be the place to play it. So that's Saturday Morning RPG. And we will meet up again in a month to talk about our thoughts on that. Thank you very much for joining us. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Also, where does the month go? It doesn't feel like a month.